Welcome to our podcast, everyone. I'm your host, Michelina Cusano, and today we have a very special guest joining us. We're here with Bill Taekema. I hope I pronounced that right, Bill.
Sounds pretty good.
A psychotherapist based in the Greater Toronto area. Bill, it's great to have you on our show.
Thank you.
Today, we're diving into a crucial and often challenging topic that affects many families: how to co-parent with a high conflict partner. Bill, your expertise in this area is going to be incredibly valuable for our listeners, and I can't wait to hear your insights. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of co-parenting with a high conflict partner, could you tell our listeners a bit about your background and what inspired you to specialize in this field?
Yes, thank you for that great intro. And I too am passionate about helping healthy parents deal with high conflict relationships. So for me, in my practice of 18 years here in Brampton, the last 6 years has been a very much a passion around dealing with healthy parents or empaths who are separating, divorcing, cohabitating with narcissists. And there's a spectrum of narcissism, and the narcissistic personality disorder has 7 different types. And I generally see 3 types of narcissistic abuse happening. So growing up in a home where I was subjected to both parents being narcissists, my father was a covert, my mother was and a grandiose. My mother was malignant, and she was also, how would I say it, grandiose. So in their way of relating, I would watch and see them manipulating each other and going, wow, it doesn't have to be that way. Why? Why would they choose to be that way? So that set me up to be an excellent therapist, so that when I'm working with the healthy parent, I understand what's going on or what's behind it, what the motivation, what the manipulations are. And it gives me a wonderful way of meeting my clients where they're at, and then helping them to get clear on what it was that they were abused and subjected to, and then regroup, reframe, and do the self-care that's needed so that they can be effective in their relationship, whether they're cohabitating. And if there are children involved, how to be the healthy parent in that relationship and in that family home. And then if there's a separation and a divorce and a custody process, how to show up and be the healthy parent for the children. And that, to me, is what I'm passionate about, given my upbringing, what I learned from watching and observing, from doing my own personal work, now to be able to help healthy parents and their children, how to exist with them. And if there are workplace environments where there's narcissists that are in the workplace environment, and how to manage that.
Thank you for that very vulnerable share, Bill. So it sounds to me like you were already aware of narcissistic tendencies already at a young age. And what I'm hearing is that you can really help the healthy parents with their children because you have gone through it yourself.
Absolutely. Having the firsthand childhood experience, not quite understanding the terminologies and what was happening, I just knew that this isn't healthy. This isn't how life is to be. And so all those life-defining moments where I was exposed and being manipulated in that environment, I took my body's like a filing cabinet. Our bodies are like a filing cabinet. All those life-defining moments are stored. And when we, in therapy, or myself, doing my training to become a therapist, we had to deal with all of the triggers so that I wouldn't be triggered in therapy. And that's where I discovered that I was exposed to narcissistic personality disorder abuse. And then the passion came to get myself back on track, to be my authentic self. And in that process, I now understand how to meet my clients where they're at and then help them to be their best versions or get back to being their best versions. And if there are children involved, how to protect and isolate them from the abuse.
Love that. Your dedication to helping families in such difficult situations is truly commendable. And I'm sure our listeners will appreciate the valuable advice you're going to share with us today. So, listeners,
Looking forward to it.
yes, me too. Listeners, if you are co parenting with a high conflict partner, or if you know someone who is, stay tuned because today's episode is going to provide you with essential strategies, insights, and support to make this challenging journey a bit more manageable. So grab a pen and paper because you won't want to miss a moment of this conversation. So let's dive in. So, Bill, from your experience, what are some common challenges faced when co parenting with a high conflict partner?
Well, one of the main one is they want to manipulate and control you. And some of them will go as far as to isolate you from your family and friends. They need to have you only to themselves. And this is one of the most difficult ways that they manipulate. And when and if you're in those situations, it can be so difficult because you're looking for understanding. You're looking to understand, is it my fault? What's going on here? Why is this? What I want to say is that type of control and social isolation is not love. That is one thing I want to make perfectly clear. That is not love. Oh,
It's so interesting that you say that because we confuse that. We think that that is love, but that's definitely not love. Why do they try to, from your experience, why do they try to isolate you?
well, what they try to do is they try to undermine your self-esteem and your self-worth. And when they are doing all those manipulations in a covert way, you're beginning to feel less and less. And then if you interact with a family member who says, well, you're feeling down, and then you start to share about why you're feeling down, there's the possibility that they will influence you to not put up with the manipulations of controlling you. And so what happens is they feel threatened by your family and your friends who are supporting you. And then you're in conflict. Then what happens is they just tend to get really angry and make you feel even worse for having done that. So that's why they want to keep you all to themselves so that they have control over everything that you do and say and who you interact with.
That is that is so perfectly said, and I cannot tell you how many women, especially. I'm not saying it's only women. How many times I've heard that, because it's the same things with each narcissistic or high conflict partner. They try to isolate you, they try to manipulate you so that you won't tell anybody else, because if you do, then there's that there might be that chance that you're going to leave them.
Yes, right. Their main objective is to keep you around for their supply so that you won't abandon them. So by undermining your self-esteem and your self-worth, you won't dare leave them because you need them in your life because they are somehow in a grandiose way. All of these things. And so keeping you small means you won't leave them. And, again, it's all manipulation to keep you codependent on them.
Thank you for that, because I think this is going to help a lot of women, just or people in general, just not feel that they're alone, that there's actually someone else out there that is dealing with the exact same thing, or has experienced the exact same thing.
Yes.
What, what tips can you suggest for someone to manage their own emotions and reactions when dealing with the high conflict partner during co-parenting?
So the undermining manipulations is always going to be there. What I have found in the years that I've been working with my clients to regroup and get their lives back on track is the narcissist will the what do you call it? High conflict?
High conflict partner.
High conflict partner. I'm going to use narcissist. And yet high conflict partner is also appropriate as well. So the narcissist will undermine you to keep you small. And so what they do is, for the healthy individual, is to go into their love language, whatever their love language is. And there's a quiz that you can take that's online. And perhaps you have the link that you can put it into whatever information that you send out. When you know what your love language is, and the love languages are acts of service, quality time, physical touch, gifts, and words of affirmation. So when you are in your love language, usually the healthy person is doing their love language towards their children, towards their partner, towards their family. So whatever their main love language is, the narcissist will go after that to undermine that love language, to make them feel less, that their love language is invalid. So what the healthy parent can do is realize that when the narcissist is coming at them to attack their love language, that's what it is. It's an attack on the love language to undermine them. So what you do is you gray rock. Gray rocking is you show no emotion. You don't give them any supply.
Oh, and you call that gray rock.
Yes, it's just a plain old rock that just sits there, doesn't give them any supply. Because if they come at you and they're coming at your love language, and then all of a sudden you get all upset, how dare you? Oh, it's not that at all. The narcissist is going, yes, I got you. I got you right where I want you. But if you just go gray rock, wow, not even giving them any supply, that's a way of protecting you from further abuse, from letting them know that they got you by gray rocking.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. This is the first time I've ever heard that. And I just wrote it down. So that basically ends their supply. So I love that.
Yes.
You touched a little bit on love languages, and love languages, I think many people think it's just for maybe intimate relationships, but it can be for children as well. Is that correct?
Absolutely. When you, as the healthy parent, are in your love language, you're glowing, you're just, wow, you're living your life purpose. And then your children see you in that and they go, wow, mommy's safe, mommy or daddy, depending on who's the healthy parent. So they feel comfortable with you. Then when you tune in, and the quiz, the 5 love language quiz, has 3 ways of taking it for yourself, so you know your own love language. Then it has a way of saying, in a partnership, when your partner does this, do you feel this, this, or this? And then there's another way of doing it to learn your children's love language. So when you take the time to, either with your child, learn their love language, or if they're not able to, you can take the quiz to see what your child's love language. When the two of you are in your love languages, working together, being together, there's no greater connection. That connection will solidify anything that makes you, the healthy parent, the safe person to go to no matter what.
I love that. And I love languages. And I have actually helped parents in the past discover their children's love language, because they will tell you and they will communicate that, whether verbal or unverbal, what their love language is. And I've had parents come back and say, you have changed the relationship with my child just by understanding their love language. But I think what is really important is to understand your love language first. Would you agree with that?
Yes, absolutely. Because as I mentioned earlier, when you are operating in your love language, you are grounded in what makes you shine and glow and be present. And when you are present, then you are receptive to what your child's needs. Any change that happens when they come home from school, you'll understand because you are grounded in your love language. You'll be able to see any changes that happens within your child. So yes, it's important for a parent, the healthy parent, to know their love language, be grounded in it, so that they have more presence to see what's going on in the bigger picture within their child.
Wonderful. And we're going to offer our listeners maybe a little bit more information on love languages, and maybe a link to that quiz, because I think it's really important. So how can a parent, the healthy parent, prioritize their children's needs while dealing with a high conflict partner?
Okay, great question. For me, there's um, supporting my clients who are wishing to cohabit, to stay in the relationship, to make things work. And then there are those that are looking to, to get a divorce or a separation process, divorce, and then in the child custody process. Whew,
It's a big one, isn't it?
it really is. It feels overwhelming as I just said those words. I'm going to zero in on cohabitating, protecting children from the criticism. The narcissist or the high conflict individual will often criticize the children. Do not enable the criticism to continue. Stand by the child and say enough. And, depending on the child's age, you can take them out of the room and, go to their bedroom and then unpack what happened, depending on the severity of the criticism, if the child was truly impacted by it. One of the ways that you can zero in on the child is say, wow, I'm really sorry that happened, and ask open-ended questions. And then ask, how do you feel about that? And what happens is they begin to articulate what was going on. You get to hear where they're at, and then mirror back what you heard. So what I heard you say is this, this, and this. Do I have it right? And if the child says yes, or they may tweak it, or because they've heard you say it, they may feel, what's going on a little more clarity. And so what happens is you're taking the children out of the situation, out of the criticism. You're not enabling it to continue. And then you're listening, zeroing in on what happened for the child according to the child's story. You're meeting them where they're at. You're mirroring what they shared with you, and then working it out so that it doesn't happen again. Or if it does happen again, that, you as a parent will protect them. And, there's even, verbal cues, daddy or mommy, that makes me feel uncomfortable. Please stop. So it's a way of letting them know to start, having boundaries.
Yes, and also just one, at least just one parent um, protecting them. They need to
Yes,
feel safe with one parent. And you said something really, really, I believe, valuable for a child, is that you said when they tell you how they feel, you repeat back to them what you heard. That way, they actually really feel that you were listening and they feel validated.
absolutely. The mirror effect, mirror back to them what you heard. And then you can empathize. Yeah, I felt that too when I heard it.
That's so important. So let's switch into, with maybe if the parents are divorced or they're separated, how can we ensure that our children feel loved and supported during a high conflict divorce?
The first thing is to be very clear that it is not their fault. The divorce is happening. It is not their fault. Some of the clients that I work with, the children right away think, oh, it's my fault because I did this, or I should have done that, or, and so to stress that it's not the children's fault, period. And that depending on the age of the children, that this is, something that adults that happen to adults. And so eventually, when they're an adult, they will have an understanding of what this is going on. And when they're older, and then ask them any questions. What are your questions about this? So again, mirror back what you hear them by their question, and then you can ask, if they do come up with something, ask for a deeper understanding, as to what their questions are about. Why are you asking that question? And then they will usually convey, well, I saw mommy do this, and then you reacted that way. And so, you were standing up for me. So that meant, and so that's how you're going to find out that the child was taking on that it was their fault. And so it's really good to communicate in the words that are appropriate for the child, again, that it's not their fault.
Because children 9 times out of 10 actually believe it is their fault that their parents are getting a divorce.
Yeah.
And I find that a lot. But I think what you're saying here is lots of communication. Because one of the things that I find is when parents are going through a divorce, kids tend to not ask questions or not encouraged to ask questions. It's almost like a taboo question, a taboo subject to even approach. Do you feel that?
Yes, very much so. I know with some of the clients that I've recommended is, going to the library and finding books on divorce, and reading with the child at bedtime before going to bed, reading the particular book that's most appropriate that you got from the library. And then after reading, various pages, or, key things that you as the healthy parent suspect your child is struggling with, say, okay, here's the story. And, this character is having a trouble. Do you struggle with that? Do you feel this way? And that's a way of creating dialogue as well.
That is such that's a wonderful advice. Just to maybe if it is an uncomfortable conversation to have, is grabbing some books and going to the library and kind of reading a story and then asking questions. And I find that bedtime is the best time to have a conversation with a child when they're relaxed. You're relaxed. Would you recommend maybe those kind of conversations to have happen maybe at bedtime?
There are various times. Bedtime is one of those sacred moments where you're with your child. You're gearing down for the end of the day. You've all had a busy day, and so now it's the ritual of brushing your teeth. Go and brush your teeth and that type of thing. That whole self-care mode is so important. And then to zero in on story time when the child has your undivided attention, and you're tuning into their energy, and then having the book. What it does is it normalizes, well, there's a book about divorce. So other families have this too. And so because it's an educational tool and the child understands that a library has all kinds of information for everyone, this is not something to be ashamed of. So it's not a secret. And for the parent to be present for the reading of the story, and then to understand what's being read to them, and then tuning in, asking, how do you feel about that? Do you identify with this character? Or if you don't, what do you feel? And it's a wonderful way of just helping them to go to bed in a positive experience, feeling validated, feeling loved and supported. And when they go off to dreamland, yeah, hopefully there are pleasant dreams. So when they wake up in the morning, they know they've got the healthy parent that's going to be there for them.
You said something that was so important, that when you read a book about maybe other families going through divorce, it takes away the feeling for these children that they are alone, they're singled out, and it removes the shame.
Yes.
So important for our little beings, so important. So I want to talk about boundaries. Setting healthy boundaries with a high conflict partner is crucial for ensuring a healthy co-parenting relationship. What tools or suggestions would you recommend to do that?
Okay. I'm going to go with cohabitating. Um, Boundaries. When the narcissist is coming after you, what's really good is for you to have scripts. I sent you 5 different ways of addressing when they are gaslighting you. Gaslighting is when they try to undermine you and your truth and your feelings. They try to invalidate. So when they are coming at you in a way that's using, lots of swear words and name calling, what is really good to say is, if you continue to communicate with me this way, I am going to leave this situation, and take yourself out of the situation. So scripting, having specific words that you say, this is inappropriate and I'm taking myself out of there. So what that's doing is it's letting them know, the narcissist know, that you're not their punching board, that you're not going to stick around for this, that you are taking yourself out of that toxic environment. And that is standing up for yourself. If you stick around and you take it all, you are betraying yourself. Betraying yourself is not self-care. Betraying yourself isn't a loving thing to do. Betraying yourself isn't your love language. Then you become emotionally unavailable to yourself, to your children, and then the spiral continues. And that is what the narcissist wants.
And we want to stop that cycle.
Absolutely.
And those phrases, like you said, like the scripts that you sent me over email, I am going to post that for our listeners because I thought that those were brilliant. So thank you for sending those over.
Yes, I
So,
share that with all my clients, who are in those difficult situations. And when they read them, they go, "Oh, wow, this is amazing. I didn't know that I could do this." And it really establishes a healthy boundary around how you communicate. And another area is if you're cohabitating, it's good to come up with a family list of chores. So when you're in the house, these are the chores that need to be done, and everyone agrees to do their chores. And so what happens is the narcissist often says, I never agreed to do such a thing. However, if you've got your list on the fridge that these are the things that everyone needs to do in order for the house to be somewhat harmonious, even the children can say, Mommy, it says right there that you are going to do that, that's your, or Daddy, you need to do that. And that way it takes you out of, having to be the disciplinarian. And so there's just more of an accountability, and that establishes a healthy boundary within the home.
I love that. Very, very important. So just to end off, there's many support groups available for individuals that are co-parenting with a high conflict partner, narcissist. Would you recommend that to anybody that's dealing with this?
Yes, it's so important. I know that healthy parents usually have a confidant of some sort, or one or two, whether it's a family member or a best friend. It's important for the healthy parent to have someone to check in with. And having that is the emotional support and the release so that they can vent whatever's going on with that person. And that person needs to be trusted, of course. And so that is one of the best ways, right off the bat. The second way is a support network. I know that on meetup.com, there's several different groups. One is about narcissistic support. So joining a group like that, and they used to meet pre-pandemic in person, and now a lot of it's on Zoom because a lot of people can access it. And so they meet regularly. And then when you hear what's going on and what other people are going through, you feel empowered because you're hearing you're not alone. And they often share tips. Well, they always share tips as to what they've done to cope. And it's a wonderful way of networking within a support network of fellow individuals who've also been exposed to the abuse of a narcissist. So that's an amazing tool to use. And then finding a legal team or a lawyer who is narcissistic personality disorder informed. When you have a narcissist who's going to try to undermine you and tell all the lies, you need to have a lawyer that's going to be able to fight for you on behalf of you. And so when all the 7 pages of how you're such a bad parent comes in, the lawyer can just say, not true. And that's it.
I love that. And Bill, can you tell our listeners how can they find you?
I'm on Psychology Today, which is a network of psychotherapists. It's a wonderful platform. You can find me there. I have my website, bramptonpsychotherapy.com. Let me see, how else? Through the connections that we are working together, you have my contact information as well. So
Share that.
yes,
And there's also, we have a Facebook group called the Conscious Divorce Community. You can look us up. And if you are looking, if you are ready to take the next step and separate, you can also contact the Riley firm. And we are very, very passionate about helping healthy parents uh, divorce a narcissist or high conflict partner with dignity and with respect. Okay, Bill, I want to thank you for this enlightening conversation. I have enjoyed it, and I know our listeners have probably found a lot of very useful information. So, once again, thank you, and I look forward to connecting back with you.
wonderful. Thank you. It's gratifying and it feels very grounding for me to be able to facilitate this, given my life experience and my passion on helping the healthy parent to help their children so the children, do not need to go through what I went through.
I love that. Thank you for everything that you do, Bill.
Thank you.